Johnson, and this is focused on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, mountain back to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pocondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and
hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of On Point. It is 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. on the East Coast and 3 p.m. on Central Time in Minnesota, wherever you are in that area. And I think, Dr. Booty, what time is it in London?
It's about 17 past 9 o'clock.
Okay, 17 after 9 across the pond. You are welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Do us a favor, share this show. Share the show in your network, in your chat room, everybody else in your network, guys. So let's get to some of the business that we are here for. One particular one that I want to talk about is about Liberia, and I think that's why we are all here. But while we are it, guys, Liberia never disappoints when it comes to news, when it comes to events. The backwardness of the country is so alarming that sometimes we fight to select which one of the bad topics, which one is better than bad. That's the competing interest we are talking about. Without further ado, let me introduce our panelists here, our guests, guys who are well-versed when it comes to the Liberian issues. Dr. Booty, how are you, sir? How is London?
I'm good. The UK is great. Temperature is getting a bit higher, so that's always a good thing. But yeah, I'm glad to be here as always.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, you are a soccer fan. I am crying. I am weeping. I am sobbing. My Chelsea is headed downward. They are talking about a steep slope. We were at one time a contender, it looks like, but then it turned out that we were just pretending we are not good enough. I don't even know where we are. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a Chelsea fan, you got nothing to gloat about. You got nothing. You cannot say tomorrow or next year. We are not good enough, period. Mr. Namwe, how are you doing there? I said to your brother-in-law, the Eagles. I see you smiling. You got a championship smile on your face.
We're still celebrating over here, Jerome. Afternoon to you and also Dr. Buddy and Joe. Afternoon and good day to our viewers, wherever you are. It is great to be here. Sorry about your Chelsea. Over here, the spring training is just getting ready to start, and my Phillies, the Fighting Phils, this year I think we're taking the pennant. Mark my words. This war is about to start.
Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. We're not doing that great either, so it looks like I'm in the doghouse. Mr. Tower, you in Houston. I don't know how you guys doing between the Miami folks and the people from Houston. I don't know who will fight themselves out of this bag. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. I'm glad to be here and welcome to all of my fellow panelists and all of the viewers. I'm actually here in Houston, but I'm a Saints person. All of my time that I actually lived in the U.S., I've been in the state of Louisiana, mainly in New Orleans. So I don't know much about the Texans. So I just want to tell you that. But I'm glad to be here, and I look forward to being part of the discussion.
Well, when it comes to mystery, welcome. You and I, we are in the same class. The Saints have not done anything for a long time, just like the Dolphins. It's every year, next year. So I don't envy you. They say mystery need company. I got company here. Mr. Champion, you can go ahead and gloat all you want. But let's get to talk about Liberia. When it comes to Liberia, we have everything at stake. We are all investors in the country. We all have our issues. We all have a vested interest seeing that our country is run well. It is safe. So when Dr. Booty goes and carry his medical folks, they don't have to be looking over their shoulders. When Dr. Tower goes, Mr. Tower goes to Bassa and Bong and Nimba, he can travel. We're all looking over his shoulders. When my brother Nambe goes to the southeast, he go to Sino or Kipamas or wherever he can get there. So we all have a vested interest in what's happening. Yeah. So we got a couple of topics here we want to talk about. The first one on our list would be the legislature around the country, right? These guys are doing all kinds of stuff. They call it legislative projects. How are these people responding? How the natives, the people who live in these counties, in these cities, people who are native to these places that can't leave, this is their county. Like, for instance, if you're living in Harper, right? You are in Maryland. It is your place. How are your legislators impacting your life? We'll talk about that. Then number two, the altercation between the Fadika brothers. These people are not law enforcement officers. In fact, one of the brothers was just fired unceremoniously for unprofessional conduct. He is now walking around with tear gas canister. He's commanding basically a brigade wherever he goes. We'll talk about that. Then we want to talk about the United Methodist Church. There are two schools of thought now. We have the United Methodist Global, which is a group that believes in the scripture, that one scripture covers everywhere. You cannot preach the scripture in America different, go to Africa, preach it different. So they call themselves, they are breaking away and calling themselves United Methodist Global. That means what happens in the United States happens in Africa. What happens in Africa happens around the globe. Versus the regionalization, the regional thoughts are those who are supporting same-sex marriage across the church. They are saying if your church and your district doesn't want to get involved with the same-sex marriage, you have the liberty to say we don't want to take part in that. The global folks are saying, no, this is a trap. We are either United Methodists, believe in the scripture, and we abide and live on the scripture. That scripture should be global. So we had the global versus the regional. Then number 4, Yeke Koluba's vehicle was broken into, right? And later towed. Would there be any fallout? Is it business as usual? And then finally, the LACC, wherever they are, therefore, they are summoning several officials of government for investigation concerning questionable spending. I think we've been around this horse before. We've been around this car before. We have seen this before. But to get started, there was a video that went viral this week, or let's say last week, where Darrell Dillon called the CEO of the Liberian Central Bank to question him about his allocation, his staffing, his salary. And it turned out the gentleman was so confused that he was exposed. He couldn't even admit what he made. After he enumerated what he made, it came out to over $56,000 per month. Included in that, he said he gets paid $5,000 a month as housing allowance, even though he lives in his own house. $5,000 a month. Then he says he get about $10,000 in salary. Then he get gas. He get travels. He get fuel. He get transportation. He gets security. He get maid. The whole thing came to $56,000 a month in Liberia. And not only that, his deputy makes little less than that, like $2,000 or $3,000 less. So you are talking about the governor of the bank making $56,000, and all his deputies making about $55,000 per month. Mr. Namwe, you have an interest, you've been in this fight for so long, about the inequality that brought this country to where it is. It looks like it has increased, Mr. Namwe.
So, Jerome, again, let me mention quickly, this is the Founders Day weekend for Cotton, Go Scorpion Nation. I know there's a lot of good things happening today at Cotton University out there in Bung. But yeah, so the clip, I don't know how I came upon this clip earlier this week. I had to watch it so many times because I was in utter disbelief, right? So this very week, I believe the labor minister was at some agency or something mandating, that the minimum pay at this agency should be around $150. So you just do the math and go figure. The ordinary person, $150 a month to feed a family. And in the same country, somebody is making $56,000, $55,500, or $56,500. I believe that's the exact amount that was stated. How is that possible? How? I mean, this is a country whose president for the past 12 months has been on the road, right? Trying to find some kind of way, what he believes is out there. In Liberia, someone is making this much money, and I am certainly not the only person. I had to ask so many people, and almost to a person believe this is verified and it is true. He's taking home $5,000 a month for housing for a total of $60,000 per year. And this person already has a home. How do we justify this? So I know we'll come to this, but this is what the budget, about 88% of the $880 million is going to just recurring expenditures, salaries and benefits. So we have 16% to do the rest of everything, including health, education, agriculture. How do we expect to get out of this? And we know of all of this happening and the president continues to go out there to look for help when help is actually right in front of his nose. You know, so there are a lot of us who really felt that this cutting off of aid by the the U.S. government, all of that, we thought it presented an opportunity for this president to reset. I hope you would take advantage of this. There is no way we can survive on this level of expenditure. We're spending almost 88% of the budget just for paying salaries and benefits because guys like the governor of the central bank is making $57,000, not a year, not quarterly, but for 1 month. How is that possible? And you know, before I pass it over, look, we always come here and knock on the president because yeah, the buck stops with him. But I think there are a lot of people who are also culpable in this fraud that's going on. Where is the Senate? Why aren't we seeing them conducting hearings? That's their job. It's not for Dylan to call somebody in the room, and they're supposed to conduct hearings. You know, where is the legislature? They're supposed to oversee these places. That oversight is part of their responsibility. So yes, the president he got the greater responsibility because he's the head of everything. But these are three co-equal branches. I think they also culpable in this. And I think the outrage should also be extended to them. Why are they allowing this to happen? So what did Dylan do about this? I'm waiting to hear. He had these people here. Now Snow in the room there, as I saw. And I'm sure there were other people in there. What are they going to do about it? What did they just call this hearing for what? To question these people. And then what? What end? To what end? So I'm really heartbroken. And I still can't believe what I heard on this tape. You know, I hope this is going to trigger something, some kind of visceral reaction from our people. We have to get up. We cannot sit there and expect these things to fix themselves. I think we need to get up and rise to the occasion. Thank you.
Great. Dr. Booty, here we are. I think that, like, we used to have some panelists here who are just tired about talking and talking and talking. And Joseph Boyka and his team says, no matter what you say, we will do what we want to do. The law doesn't apply to us. So the people are exhausted. They just threw their hands in the air and say, you know what, let them do whatever they want to do. But I also want to push back with Mr. Namwe here when he says the legislator, other folks should be held accountable or culpable to this. No, Mr. Namwe, that's not how it runs in Liberia. The president is the supreme. Mr. Dr. Booty, your take on this. I know you're making more than I got, $56,000 a month. You're making like $100 a month. Go ahead, sir.
I wish. Obviously, if I was, I'll be visiting Mr. Padmo and Mr. Tao on a regular basis in Texas, so I can show him around, so he can learn about the place he's living. Because clearly, he's been living there all these years and he doesn't know much about the place. But look, I think if we get serious, let me touch on something first that you mentioned. I think, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, we do not have a choice. We can't give up. We have to keep talking. So I think anyone who has thrown in the towel and said, look, we're not the point listening. Look, we can talk, but we also have to act, right? We have to talk and we have to propose actions that can help change situations in Liberia. Because unfortunately for a lot of people in Liberia, they depend on people like us who understand the issues, who are able to identify through whatever means, ways in which the system can be better. Right, so that people can have access to opportunities that they deserve and need to have access to. So, as Mr. Nambe was talking, I was trying to do some maths, right? And I was just doing some quick research as well. The governor of the Central Bank of, the governor of the Bank of England makes £495,000 a year, which is about $614,000 every year. Right, that's what he makes. Now, if it is true that the governor of the Central Bank of Liberia is going to be making $56,000 a month in terms of everything, that's $672,000, right? US dollars. That's I don't know the maps, but that's at least 60,000 or 850 something thousand a year more than. And I checked, and I was just doing my research. The United Kingdom is the sixth richest country in the world. Liberia is the seventh poorest country. So the seventh poorest country in the world is saying to the rest of the world that we need to pay our governor of our central bank more than the sixth richest country in the world to set policies that do not take us anywhere, right? He's been head of this bank for many years. Oh, sorry, not many, many months since the president suspended the previous governor. And we've not seen the monetary policies that have been put in place that has shifted the dial to any progress in the interest of the Liberian people. So unfortunately, I know Mr. Nangbe talked about other people taking responsibility. He didn't set his own salary, as far as I know, and I stand to be corrected. Whomever set the salary is the person that needs, or the group of people that need to look into it. I know recently the president has been because the President Trump came up and said, "Look, he's going to cut USAID aid." They started foaming around here recently, saying that they can start cutting benefits. Those are things that you should have done when you walked through the door. You don't wait until Donald Trump say, "Oh, I'm going to take away your USAID money," before you start reducing the salaries and benefits of government officials. So clearly, you could have done it. The fact that you want to do it now means it could have been done at the start. So why didn't you do it from the start? Because it's clear we are a poor club. There is no one in this room, and I'm going to throw it out there before I rest my case. There is none of us in this room right now. There is nobody who's listening online that will earn $4,000 a month. Your total expenditure is 3,500. And instead of let's say your total expenditure is 4,100. The first thing that you would do is you would reduce your outgoing. You would look at areas in your expenditure. Maybe you're paying for TV, like whatever TV program you guys, they want, let me cut it off. I need to reduce. I only get 4,000. I get 4,100. Or every month I used to buy 2 pairs of shoes. Okay, I'll be using the shoe then for 3 more nights instead of every month. Oh, I used to go to, I don't know what's your most expensive place to buy, but here is Waitrose. I go buy my food at Waitrose. I'll start going Aldi now because it's cheaper at Aldi. Right? People, all of us, normal human beings, that's what we'll do. Once your expenses exceed your income, you look at ways to cut back because you want to always be able to save something for a rainy day. And unfortunately, this government hasn't been able to do it. And I can't wrap my head around the logic that we will think that it makes sense to us, forget about the rest of the world, to us, that we, the seventh poorest country in the world, can pay our central bank governor way more money than the sixth richest country pays its central bank governor. That just don't make sense to anybody. And we're still begging.
Mr. Tao, I'm here. The Federal Reserve of the United States, the chair of the Federal Reserve of the United States makes $246,000 a year. My namesake, Jerome Powell, is the chair of the Federal Reserve. He makes $246,000 a year. The Federal Reserve, the United States Federal Reserve.
The richest country in the world.
That's correct. And a guy in a place called Liberia makes almost $700,000 to run a bank that does absolutely nothing. Mr. Tao.
Yeah. So, like you said, we'll come here and we'll talk. And yes, people listen. But there is a problem. Even we who are on the very panel are different shows. We can't even admit, or at least we don't all understand the problem, the actual root of the problem. The system that we have is broken. It is corrupt, inherently corrupt. It was designed that way. You can't expect anything else out of it other than what you are getting. This is where we are. This single stuff, whenever I mention it, I meet all kinds of opposition as if what is it that we are protecting? We are looking at it. The next one is, When I mention the diaspora, I get told that my mind might not be working because I just cannot comprehend it. This is a diaspora makeup that we are dealing with when you're talking about high salaries. No, let's go back to the root of these high salaries. We all live here. And how did it come about? We have mortgage to pay, they said. We have car notes, they said. It was predicated on this. For all these high salaries that strangulated the country, it was a mafia, a diaspora mafia set up to loot the country. People who have no obligation to the country, who have no commitment because they have option to go and wreck the country, leave it in dire situation, and then run back over here or wherever they came from. Yes, that's how we ended up with these salaries. Everybody here can attest. I have relatives and close friends that don't even speak to me anymore because of this. Because I pointed it out, I called them out, they called me, I look at them, I told them that they were stealing from that country. I was never going to be part of it. But we can't even admit these things because we can't just say, oh, let's propose solution for something if we can at least look at the history of the stuff to first establish something and agree. Then if we agree on that and we see that, oh, yes, you know what, then now, how can we move forward so we can prevent something like this from happening? That was not a salary of central bank governor or ministers or representatives. No. Or even agency heads. This is a pure making of the diaspora group, led by Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and her group. Weeks, and her children who all came from here and just all of these guys. So this is what we have. It don't make any sense. It does not make any sense. And it was never meant to make sense because it was meant to bleed that country. Look, my brother, if me and you, if we live in Liberia, and we know that if things break down, that is the only option we have. Even if people decided to be corrupt or decided to mess up, we're going to try to do something because the hospital that are there, we got to go to that same hospital. Our children got to go to the same school. We have to deal with the same population, the same neighborhood, the same insecurity and everything else. I know at least 20 people that are in our government right now, who their whole family live here. They're not just in any portion of government. They're in critical decision-making policy position areas that are deciding some of the things that you see happening or that decided some of the outcomes that you're seeing now. They had a family here. Some of them were my relatives. Some of them were close friends. They set these policies. And somebody's going to tell us that, no, we can't point that out because we point that out, we're trying to make them target the diaspora people. We're being biased. Yeah, when it comes to Liberia, we have to be able to tell the truth. But look, this is going to continue. This is going to continue until we recognize that the system we have in place will not work and was never meant to work. This is what I will say on this and close.
Sorry, let me
close. The coup came about as a result of economic suppression to where people were strangulated and they could not even do anything. They were straitjacket. They were pretty much restricted. And it was not even as worse. Then the war came for almost similar reason. Where we are now is the coup and the war combined. That is what you are seeing. So when Caleb used to say here that what you see in that country is coup, nobody is trying to say that the one war, but that is what you are seeing. You have able-bodied young men that are making up maybe like 70% of that population. They have no hope. They have no sense of direction. They have nobody trying to even develop them. Guess what? They're an army of terror and mayhem waiting to happen if anybody just organize them. So, but why again? Almost all those guys that are in government, the moment they see something happening, I've been in that country. Everybody jump on a plane will be back in the US, in London, everywhere else. they will leave the local population there. So they don't care.
Thank you.
So I know Dr. Budi wanted to tell me.
Mr. Budi, you want to, Dr. Budi, you want to do?
No, I think my only thing I wanted to say was, look, I don't disagree that President Sirleaf and her cronies came in and set up this system. But we've had George Weah, who could have dismantled it, right? He didn't.
Especially in the phase of harmonization, right?
Yeah, we now have Joseph Boakai, who could do the same thing, and he still hasn't done it. So we can't keep going, because again, the reason why there's a change in government is because people believe that the previous government wasn't doing what they wanted them to do. So this government has to be responsible. We should keep the conversation on them.
Great.
And Jerome, I wanted to mention this quickly. Yes, thank you. Look,
Mr. Namwe, real quick. I know I want you to include this in your closing on this topic, so we'll move on. The young man who is at the bank, we got to find out is a nephew, a relative to Joseph Boakai, and it was confirmed that yes, he is. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a Samoa gentleman from the IB bank. Yes. So yeah, I think that has been in the news for a while now. And so, but yeah, and it is wrong on all levels. But let me tell Mr. Tao, first of all, I think his characterization of what I said is, I never say he doesn't have a functional faculty. That is wrong. But what I said, and I know he would not accept this, but I'll keep saying it until somebody else at least will accept what I'm saying. What I'm telling him, first of all, what he and others are doing is dangerous, because you continue to drive a wedge between the people back home and those of us here in the diaspora, when in fact, your statements are not based in facts. The bad actors are on both sides of the Liberian population, both in the diaspora and locally. I want you to say that when you talk about the diaspora. I'm not saying they're not bad people, you know. Yes, they're bad people from the diaspora, but they're also bad people locally. And let quickly, the rationale for Ellen Johnson adjusting salary at the time was that they wanted to attract the best and the brightest. But obviously, that doesn't seem to be, bearing out now. And I agree with Jerome and Dr. Budi. President Weah came in, he harmonized the salary. He could have done something about it. He didn't. And so now this government, of course, that's why the Liberian people, thankfully, are wising up to this. They gave him a one term. And this government came in to do business not as usual. That was what they told us. But look, with all of the firings and the other day that Mr. Jokai is doing as civil service, the wage bill has gone up. How do you explain that? How do you explain that? Joseph Boakai is not the president. Is he from the diaspora? No, he is not. He's not from the diaspora. So when you're saying it, I really want you to balance it out. I don't say you shouldn't criticize. Yes, you should criticize, but I want you to make sure the balance is out. That's all I'm saying to you. Because I don't want people leaving here and going home tomorrow and people attacking them on a baseless, foundation. It is dangerous. Maybe you don't realize that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, listen to this. I have to lean towards Mr. Tao, because the majority, the lion's share of the top jobs in the country goes to diaspora.
But let me tell you this. The people in the legislature, if you do your research, the rate of people coming from the diaspora and getting elected in the legislature is probably less than 1%. Let me finish.
No, but the legislature is not part of this government.
But it is the legislature that keeps selling their salary. They keep setting their salary every year. Every legislative term, they set their salary.
Because the executive agreed to it.
Most of the people in that legislature are our own local people. They're not.
I understand this.
Yes.
Okay.
So executive is also doing it.
Mr. Namwe, what is the salary for a legislator? We know it's $15,000, right? How do you compare that? How do you square that with $56,000?
You gotta add the $100,000 that they're getting for what we will talk about later.
It wouldn't even come close to the $56,000. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please share this show. Get involved. You see our numbers scrolling across. You can call me directly and I will bring you on 772-940-2871. You can call in. I know somebody wants to say something. I know there's a lot of people who want to talk. Join the conversation. I'm reading your comments here. Mr. Tokbasi Christopher Gloti, excellent point. we are following. Now let's go to this one. Let me start with you, Mr. Dr. Booty here. Lately, last week we were seeing the memes about legislative projects. And one was Joseph Boyka when he was in government, when he was, I guess, in opposition, standing on something, dedicating a water pump somewhere that they call that development. And then lately, somebody that I have admired, that I have pushed, we say it's time for the young folks to take the mentor of this country leadership and move. We are talking about Tai Wongbe. Tai Wongbe wrote something that he said he was building a rest area. The first thing that came to mind was, this is excellent. I drive from Monrovia, from the airport in Nismelnotes to Basel without a rest area, nowhere. You have guests, they have to stop on the road. So when I heard that, I said, bingo. This is a young man who has come and he saw something in the diaspora and he transformed the technology, and I'm happy. Only to see the picture that this man brought, that is showed and said, this is Tai Wongbe's project. Jesus Christ, Mr. Tawo, I want to apologize to you. Here we go again. A diasporan, a man who went to school in the United States, know what a rest area is, know what we're supposed to do. Did something like this to his own people. And he put a symbol of, I'm talking about something that is bigger than the project. When you see his photo and everything on that, you say, yes, this gentleman has arrived. And then you see what he did to his own people. Dr. Booty, this is embarrassing. I don't know what to say about Tai Wongbe, but this man has embarrassed you, me, Tawo, and Mr. Nambe. We cannot, there's no way you can justify this nonsense. Talk to me.
Well, I wouldn't go as far as saying that he's embarrassed me. I've argued with Representative Wongbe on LinkedIn a couple of times. We've disagreed and we agree on other stuff. Look, I think it comes down to expectations, right? So you are living in the diaspora. Since that's the term for today, the terminology for today is diaspora. Thank you, Mr. Tao. And you have this expectation when it's a rest area, you expect maybe like toilets, like latrines to be there. You expect like an indoor area to be there. You expect facilities where people can maybe buy and sell items, that people can refresh themselves and things like that. But for someone who lives in District 9 in Nimba County, who is traveling from the village under the hot sun, and they have a 2 hours walk, and halfway on that journey, there's a place with enough shade for them to go and sit and rest, then that for them meets their expectation, right? So I think we have to look at it from the perspective of the people who are going to be using it. These are his people. He probably went in there because I have seen Representative Wongbe, another project that he was doing. I think it was a school or a clinic project that he was renovating a school or a clinic. So that's not his only project that he's done in this district. But again, my point is, when I drive on the motorway, when I go to a rest area, it's almost like a mall, right? You park your car, you can have all kinds of food you want to eat. I normally, when I drive, I would try not to even make my coffee at home. I would want to go half with my journey and then buy coffee from the Starbucks or something like that. Because yeah, it's I like using those, and I think we need to manage expectations here. This is not Mr. Tao traveling in District 9, and he's used to all those fancy things that they have in Texas, right? These are ordinary people who are walking long distances, who did not have something like this before, where they could stop, sit down under the shade, drink some water, and then continue their journey. So it serves a purpose. I think I agree with you on this other point. I think the whole poster or bulletin or whatever they put up there, that was just unnecessary, right? That you could have just put a little small plaque on the building to say, built by Representative Wongbe, but they would go and put a sample that is as big as it is, yeah, that one myself, I didn't like that, but yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Mr. Tower, Dr. Booty is trying to minimize, do damage control. He know this guy. They've been debating. They somewhere else. This man is saying that what this man has done, the people in his district deserve it because they don't know any better. And what they get there is an improvement over their life in the villages. I think this is the most insult I've ever heard. That Mr. Tower.
You see, and just like I was saying here, this is our problem in Liberia, right? If my dad is somewhere, and no matter how much he damaged your country and kill people with respect to his action, instead of me saying, you know what, I just don't want to address that for me to be, I want to try to select phrases and try to do this stuff. In the first place, where the expectations? If I am an engineer trying to design a vehicle, and the vehicle is supposed to run to where it's maybe 6 cylinders and everything else, because or 8 cylinders, 12 based on the road condition, the environment. And then I say, you know what? I'm going to leave out some of the horsepower because where these people are, these people that are from over, they don't know the quality of what this is supposed to mean. No, it defeats the whole purpose. Or I'm trying to solve thermodynamics and leave out some of the formula because these people, no. You see, that is a problem. That is a problem with the diaspora group that I'm talking about. These are, you see, the diaspora group project themselves. They overinflate their own ego. People who themselves here have no sense of direction. Until the diaspora group, their influence can be reduced in Liberia. I want to speak to the Liberian people. Until you guys, the locals, find a way to reduce the influence of these people reduce our influence in the government and the management of that country. Because us in the diaspora here, we have no vision, we have no sense of direction, what that lead to power dynamics and nation building. All we know how to do is to extract profit and exhibit strong European and Western arrogance in the face of real problem. This guy goes over there and do something so substandard and then claim it to be his own project. Where did the money come from? Who financed this? Where did the money come from? Was that his own money? And how did he get that money? If he had his own money, why was he doing those things before he went and took over as representative? And when money, constituent funds are moving into their hands. These are the corruptions. Who's leading this stuff? That's the diaspora group. We cannot sit here and try to just, they overinflate their ego for that somehow they are superior in terms of some kind of knowledge, that because I'm not to break down some engineering problem out of a certain, I go over there and I'm some kind of law. I've been into the country many times. I see how we act to the point where I don't even associate with the diaspora when I'm in that country. People with no sense of direction, gangster raising, they go over there, they're fighting each other. Every time they enter that country, everything they do harm the country, they leave that area, they leave 10, 15 pregnant little girls out there. And then when they go ahead and send some money to send the kids to school and to feed their girlfriend, they turn around and say, we spent $800 billion of the budget, that so they can't tell us anything as if it's supposed to be something. No, stop sending that money to your own mom and to your girlfriend and to your nephews. Nobody care. And let's see who's going to suffer it. But this is a poor. Look, until the diaspora group have no sense of direction in terms of nation building, this is proven. Liberia problem originated from the diaspora. Okay, when the Congo people went, what happened? That is what we got. The very Eula that is here, the Charles Taylor, the Barclays Mafia, all these people, where they came from. The problem that broke down, destroyed the country. They are always the vehicle that is used to destroy that country. This is evident. That is why me and you get in exile here for the same diaspora group. Then we get here instead of actually pointing this out so we can have a cut-off point. We're trying to want to tiptoe around it because I have my brother there and my uncle there, my mom there, or my friend that I went to school with. No. and then we want to think that we are better. We were a couple of 100,000 here versus millions of people in the country. Our action making it impossible for that country to survive. And this must stop. We must call ourselves out. We must hold ourselves responsible. People who run major organizations in this country have to be able to incorporate that in their message, and to the point where we have to push for arrest and imprisonment for people that go over there and abuse the country and run back here.
Thank you.
No, sorry. No, let me just push back quickly before Mr. Nangbe comes in, because
before you go, let me show you your homeboy. This is the rest area that you and him built.
Mr. Game have seen it, and I'm sure everybody.
I did go charge their phone while they waiting there. You got current there, sir.
The brother got generator. Let me Mr. Kevin, you wasted. Let me push back quickly.
That's your body from LinkedIn. That
it's not my body. You know, it's someone I follow, and we have productive conversations from time to time. Look, Mr. Nangbe has already said it, Mr. Tao, and I think it's disingenuous for you to say that all of us from the diaspora.
No, he didn't say all. He didn't say all. Now he said
Liberians from the diaspora.
Yes.
Yeah, he said Liberians. When he said Liberians from the diaspora, it means all of us, including you, Mr. Gaiman. Right? He said we. In fact, I like the way he phrased it. Said we. He included himself. Right? But I want to push back on that. But no, I have a sense of direction. So maybe if the three of you don't have a sense of direction, that's fine. But I have a sense of direction. When I talk about issues in my country, again, my writings are there for people to see. Right? When most of the time when I have an idea, I write it. I publish it in papers in Liberia. Because at the end of the day, you make suggestions on what you believe. When it comes to this whole reduction in salary of government officials, I wrote about this when George Weah was president. Like, you know, when it comes to land rights in Liberia. So no, we do have direction. The fact that one or two people come from the diaspora and go there and do ugly things, you can't then sum the millions or the thousands of Liberians in the diaspora who are doing great jobs in Liberia. There are people who don't even have any connection with government. So they own businesses in that country. I know Liberians who build Airbnbs. So when other Liberians leave from here, they have secure homes to go and stay in. You can't look at them and say, "Oh, those the one that they don't got no sense of direction." No, I've got Liberian friends. I was speaking to a lady recently. I'm flying to Liberia on Sunday, and she asked me to go and do something in Liberia. She's thinking about going and building these fish pond things, you know, what the people can have on their farms where they produce fish. So you can say she don't have a sense of direction when she's trying to. There are Liberians in the diaspora who have very genuine and concrete sense of direction. So for you to say something that is horrible, right? It's unacceptable for you to classify all of us as not having a sense of direction. Having said that, Samuel Doe was not from the diaspora. Yes, backup Mafia then were the one that were making noise in the play, but I didn't want to take one to go K Turbo, right? That Samuel Doe who were on the ground, they didn't want K Turbo, right? The reason the diaspora had to get involved is unfortunately when President Doe came to power, he ran all of the people out of the country. So the people won't come back home. How would they come back home? Unfortunately, they chose to go and use the guns to come back home. Wasn't the best option. But again, you can't just blame people, diaspora, everything. No. Yes, one or two bad apples come from here. You won't say all the people to LTA that Joseph Bakapo, they're from the diaspora? No. Henry Samara, he's not from the diaspora, right? There are many people. The current vice president, he's not from the diaspora. Darius Delon, not from the diaspora. So all of these people that are on the ground, they know that the one or two people that came from the diaspora, maybe that using Fagon, you want for all the year on here, you know, because he put it. No, please, Mr. Tao, don't do that. Yeah, don't do that.
Mr. Nangbe.
Yes, so
I think at this one you can defend the diaspora all you want. Mr. Tao has a point. When Dr. Booty talk about the PRC, who were in the PRC? The George Bullets of the world, the backup mafias of the world, the Sam Jacksons of the world. These are the brains that he brought. Anyway, go ahead. The Dr. Bullet, go ahead. So close on this. Your buddy from the ANC. He was one of the brightest spots in the ANC that Mr. Cummings brought to Liberia. And look what this man has done. Man, listen, that rest area, when I look at it, I feel restless. Go ahead, sir.
So look, Dr. Booty said most of what I was going to say, but let me tell you, Joseph Tao, how dare you How dare you? You know, it is because of Amos Sawyer, Bacchus Matthews, Tobana Tipote, D. Carlo, Blamo Nelson, John H. Boyma family, Tiawan Gongolo, Anthony Kesley, Alare Toba, Kofi Woods, that you're able to sit here today and speak about the government and not be in prison. How dare you? It is because of organizations like the Progressive Alliance of Liberia or the Movement for Justice in Africa that we toppled the social all. That you have multi-party democracy. That today you can have a George Weah as president of the Republic of Liberia. You can have a Jose Nyema Boaka, a Kisi country boy, to become president. How dare you? How dare you to sit here and talk about this is diaspora and diaspora? You know, you really need to check yourself, brother. You really need to check yourself. I know you have an anger for what's happening in Liberia. We all do. But all I'm asking you is spread the blame. There's enough to go around. And you know, you talk about we sent $800 million. That's why we're beating our chest. Yes, of course. We sent over $800 million into that country, which is greater than the budget of that country. I don't have to send it to the government of Liberia. If I send it to my brother, he goes to the market and buy bunny. The government draws taxes from the bunny. That's how they generate revenue. I'm sure you understand that. I don't have to give it to government, but it is because of the money we're sending and or whatever it is that that country is on. I don't never mind they go and give it to Lester Kroma at the Calabar. It doesn't matter. We're helping to hold up the foundation of that country. So you really need to check yourself when you're talking. Whatever anger you have against the diaspora, maybe some of it is justified, but your collective guilt, I abhor it. I find it repugnant, and I will reject it every time you say so until you qualify it. Because not all of us from the diaspora who are just bad actors. There's some real good actors who are doing some good things in Liberia from the diaspora. Now, I said this on Thursday. I'm saying it again. I am heartbroken because Taiwan will really, I see him as one of the young rising stars in Liberian politics. I'm happy that he's in the legislature. I was hoping that he would be that change, that fresh face and, fresh ideas. So I'm hoping what we saw over there, and I agree with Dr. Buddy, if you're going to do it, then do it like you come from the diaspora. And this is where I agree with you. He is from the diaspora. He knows how things are done here. He knows what a rest stop is. So what he did over there, even the ghost cannot sit over there. That is not a rest stop. When I think of a rest stop, I am thinking of going, be able to use the bathroom, be able to get a cup of coffee, even get a burger, even, sit there and charge my phone, make a phone call, get maps, get direction, watch television, rest myself before I move on. Exactly. That is not a rest stop. So I have said that too, that I'm heartbroken that he will qualify that as a rest stop, and I hope he will have a second thing on that. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got a new one here. Mr. Tawo, I'm going to give you 1 minute to rebut because everybody's on your case here. I heard something today. The rest stop that one way.
But why aren't we talking about Ellen Eto? Why are we not talking about one way? Because
we coming. Even the ghost won't stop there. The ghost. Mr. Tawo, 1 minute.
Yeah. So look at what happened here. I vehemently will push back. I have done all of the records exist. It is not what all of the people that you name, the so-called progressives. It's not about what they did, but what was the actual intent and what is the outcome. Because this is the problem. This is why each time they say here that let us go demonstrate. I tell the Liberian people, don't listen to anybody here in the US to say go demonstrate or anybody that comes to even in Liberia. This is why. None of them have a clear sense and vision on where they want to lead that country. They fought the so-called progressives were only used as vehicles. Whatever the grievances were, we're not saying they were not real, but they have no real sense of direction. You want to say that Samuel Doe, them came there because they were the one who, the so-called progressive diaspora, exacerbated that particular problem. They were the one that led to that. What Samuel Doe did, they were just the climax of it. Okay? So here it was. Once the government fell, they could not even agree among themselves. Every day, I was a kid, but I could hear my uncle then, Sawyer is about to speak. They have dictionary to see how many English he will speak. Barker's about to speak. That's the kind of crap that they were on. So it was nothing to say that yes, they did that, but they didn't even have any real plan and vision where they were really going to lead the country as a unified nation. They couldn't even do that because they didn't even think that through. The next one here is that you're saying that I'm here blanketing everybody from the diaspora because you're so bent on trying to defend this stuff. I said that the Liberian push need to reduce the influence of the diaspora group in the government because they have no sense of direction or vision when it comes to nation building. That is truth. We've seen it for 20 years. So I'm not talking about private people that go and trying to do the private stuff. I specifically said that they need to reduce their influence in the government and policy making when it comes to nation building because they have no sense of direction, which is true. Nobody can debate that.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of On Point. You got great minds here. The reason we have cut down our participation, we do not want to bring 9, 10 participants, is because we want folks to express their views and giving them enough time so they can have some rebuttal. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a big one. This one is, how you going to call it, those of you who are into it, is ecclesiastical. That means it is spiritual, it is political, it is social, it is all into one. I'm going to start with Victor on this one because you seem to be like a Catholic. You seem to be more religious than maybe everybody else here. I'm not trying to measure religiosity, but we are talking about this fight that is going on, and it is something that it is bigger than Liberia, but Liberia being the victim, being the weakest link in anything in Africa as a whole. So Liberia is now the Peachtree Bowl where people come to experiment. And this brings me to this topic of the United Methodist Church that you and I grew up with in Liberia, the Church of Joseph Jenkins Roberts, the Church of William V. Tubman, the Church of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. The great United Methodist Church is no more as we knew it to be. A year ago in Indianapolis, the United Methodist World Congress met and they decided to adopt same-sex marriage as one of the pillars or acceptable now in the church. And there is a major split between the traditionalists and the new folks they call regionalists. That means if you don't want gay in your church, or you don't want to practice gay in your church, you don't want to marry female to female, male to male, you don't have to do so. But as of last year, it is the edict of the church. Take it or not. The Liberian National Conference have decided to balk. They are not going to take this nonsense anymore. Their convention that was just held in Banga, the church had now split into two. We had the globalists, which is the group from Liberia that's saying whatever affects us in the Liberia should affect everybody spiritually. We cannot regionalize the spirituality of the church. We cannot say in Liberia we will be holy, in Sierra Leone you partially holy, in Ghana you 3/4 holy. You either be holistic or don't be Methodist at all. So there is a split between the traditional globalist and the new and improved United Methodist Church that is now called the regional church. Mr. Nambe, here we are, our tradition, our culture, our custom, the church, the Bible, the scripture. Where are we headed here?
Yeah, Jerome. And you're not the only person who couldn't find your tongue on ecclesiastical. The other night, I couldn't find my tongue on cataclysmic, but here we go. We're inside. So look, what is happening in Liberia? It is a very difficult dance that is going on in Liberia. Of course, you said it all right. The Universal Methodist Church has decided to accept, LGBT and clergy persons on the pulpit. Obviously, that is antithetical to our African Liberian culture, and so I can understand. This is, I think, the second fragmentation of the United Methodist Church in Liberia. I think this happened under Bishop Innes, and I believe Bishop Choir is now witnessing the same thing. But what is a fact is Bishop Choir, as the universal bishop of the Church of Liberia, he has a fiduciary, a financial responsibility to sustain the church. And as is with most things in Liberia, even with our government, other than international aid is very vital to the existence of our local satellite, operations. And so I can understand him trying to adjust to the swing of the international, the Universal Catholic, Methodist Church. On the other hand, he has, some of our Liberian congregants who are having difficulty accepting that. They want to go with the original text of the Bible. But these are changing times, and it is a difficult thing. But a lot of evolution has happened since creation. Women, for instance, are now presidents and heads of governments. That is something that was unheard of before. So, times are changing, and modifications are being made. Of course, I understand the Bible, is a sacred document. So I am really not a religious person. I do go to church, but as to these edicts and all of these things, I'm really a lay person. But it's going to be a difficult balance for Liberia. I was reading, most of the people who are heading this birthing of a new breakaway. I think they call themselves, what is it, Universal Methodist Church or
Global.
something? Yeah,
Global.
global. And I noticed most of them seem to be affiliated with the university where Dr. Kula was suspended. If I'm not mistaken, I think I know Jerry. I think he is a Jerry who and I went to Tottenham High School. So there is that. To what extent they'll be able to sustain that faction is yet to be seen. But the leadership of Choir and people who are with him, I believe they understand what they're saying, but they're trying to balance that out, against their ability to exist. Is an existential question that the choir, Bishop Choir, and others are dealing with. And I hope my brothers who are also very right in their advocacy of what the Bible of our parents believe the word of God to be, and therefore it should be. I can understand that, but there has to be a balance between the two. I don't know how that's going to happen, but that is our reality.
Dr. Booty, here we are, those of us who are traditionalists. I think Trump and the new administration made they came to the same conclusion here. We are not going to build 1 million bathrooms across the nation, in restaurants, in schools, because we want to have a third gender. You are going to be who you were on your birth certificate, and that's how it's going to be. So here we are, Dr. Booty, in Liberia, in Africa, to have the idea, the thought of same-sex marriage in the church. Some folks find it very difficult to swallow, including myself.
Well, I think one of the things I'm grateful for is that Mr. Nangbe clarified that he's not a religious person, because the way he was carrying his discussion was clearly. So when you talk about the Bible is one right? It's a text. It hasn't changed, right? You can't say the Bible of our parents. It's the same Bible, right? It doesn't change, right?
So,
Uh,
why you, I think, Dr. Budi, could you kindly talk to me a little bit about the King James version? Why you on it? The original text versus King James version of the Bible. Thank you.
well, clear again. I'm glad that you're clarifying that you don't understand the Bible and Christianity in and of itself. King James version is a translation of the Bible, and obviously there's a lot of, well, not a lot of, there are controversies around that. But in terms of historical evidence, right, the Bible as we have it now, in all of its various interpretations or translations, is the Bible that was handed down in terms of what was written by the people who were inspired by God to write them. The Bible is clear, in my opinion, when you look at the issues that happened with Lot and Sodom and Gomorrah, for example, and it was clear that the angels said that men and men doing things together was immoral, right, in the eyes of God. So if you are a Christian, that's my belief. If you are a Christian, then you have to believe the text of the Bible. And if the text of the Bible say that this thing is not something that God permits or not something that God allows, then that's how you have to act as a Christian. For example, when it comes to things like paying tithe and offering and things like that, the Bible talks about those things, and people have to live according to how the Bible. In terms of what's happening in the Methodist Church, I do not believe that the group that has decided that they're going to accept same-sex marriage in the church is doing this because of the doctrine of Christianity. They're doing it because they want to appeal to a group of people who believe that they have been excluded, right? And we've had this conversation, I think, a few months ago, and I said very clearly, look, I believe that the laws of every country must protect all of its people, whether you're a man, you're a woman, you're transgender, you're lesbian, you're gay, whatever. You are entitled to protection of the law because you're a citizen of that country. When it comes to faith and religious beliefs, the people who are there to teach and to practice, we have to practice what the Bible tells us to do. And I don't believe, in my years of studying the Bible and in my years of being a Christian, that there is anything in the Bible that says that homosexuality is acceptable, right? And the church, or the aspect of the church that is accepting these things, is because, look, let's be honest, the church is becoming more and more irrelevant in the lives of people, right? When I say irrelevant, people are not turning to the church as they used to before. People are turning away from the church. I live in the United Kingdom, and obviously the US is different. But in the UK, a lot of the churches, especially kind of the Anglican church and this establishment, Baptist, Methodist, and those churches, they're empty. And most of the people, congregants, and they're all old people in their 60s and 70s, right? The young people are not going to those churches. The young black people go to the charismatic churches because their parents basically drag them to church on a Sunday morning. So there is an issue, and the church is trying. I think the established churches are trying to appeal, right, to non-African congregants who are more open-minded to different lifestyles, right? To say, look, come into our church, because they need the numbers. Because all of the African churches, or churches that are dominated by African people that I go to, will not accept homosexuality as part of the doctrines of the Bible, because it's not acceptable in the Bible. And because there is not this need to appease, right? Because that's what the Methodist Church is trying to do, to appease a group of people, because again, they want to increase their numbers. They want people to come to their church. They want to maintain this power that they have. The bishops want to continue to get paid. They want to continue to live the lifestyle that they're living. And to do that, you need people coming through the door to pay their tithe, to pay their offering. And if you're telling them, oh no, teaching what the Bible actually says, for a certain group of people who are more open-minded, it might scare them away. And as a Christian, I don't believe that what the Universal Methodist Church is doing is acceptable in terms of Christian doctrine. But I understand why they're doing it, but I don't agree with it, because at the end of the day, if you are a Christian, you teach the Bible, right? You don't go and start. The Bible hasn't changed. God hasn't changed. It's the same God, right? So you don't go and teach the Bible different. So, oh well, we've evolved. Women, and to that point, Mister, I just did a quick research, Mister Nangbe. The Bible is littered with women who were leaders. There were a lot of women prophets. You've got leaders like Esther, Deborah, Sarah. You got people like I think Lydia or Linda, whatever the name is. There are a lot of women in the Bible. Ruth, for example, Naomi, who are leaders in and of themselves, right? So Hannah. So to say that all women were, like during the time of Jesus Christ, Mary and Mary Magdalene, and during the time of Paul, there were I forgot the lady name who sold her property. She was so rich.
I meant governance, as in head of England, head of U.S., that kind of governance. That's what.
No, but that's more political, right? Not necessarily. You can talk about, what's the Queen of Sheba, for example, who came to see Solomon. So there were women in the world who were leading, right? So that, and just to end on this point, and sorry for maybe if I'm preaching a little bit, but when you look at the Greek word the Hebrew word that's used to describe woman in Genesis, is a word that talks about. Either is like support, right? Support in the sense that it's the same word that God uses to describe himself, right? Not so the women are elevated to that level of being godlike, right? So their job is to guide and to support and to direct us men. That's why they say when your man finds a wife, he finds what is good, right? Because women bring us to where we need to be. So their status, the world, and some traditions. And this is where like during the biblical times, there was tradition that kind of pushed women down, not the Bible, not God. God never wanted women to be put down.
Thank you. Mr. Tao, this is serious. I think Dr. Booty, from the sociological standpoint, it is an imagination that has based in facts. There was an article, I was on the BBC the other day, and I was hearing that there were churches in Germany that were closed. Churches have been turned into mall. Churches have been turned into bar, into clubs, because the membership, the traditional membership, are dwindling. The young people are now going they're finding other things to meet their spiritual needs. So here we are, Mr. Tao. Dr. Booty say this is a segment of society. Remember, they are very well off. They are highly educated. They are highly intellectual. They are successful business people. They are everywhere. They make good money. And that particular part of the society, you do not want to leave out. So what they are saying is they would rather segregate or hurt few feelings, but be inclusive. The money have to come in, the church has to go out. In fact, the Africans, since we do not produce a lot of the money, the help is coming from this way, and we can't draw all our coffers here. Talk to us about the dilemma that we are in Africa. We want the Bible in its raw forms, but to do that, it has a financial burden that is so huge. And the Catholic will tell you that it takes billions to run the Catholic school, Catholic hospital, charities, and all that. Somebody has to come. Somebody has to foot the bill. Mr. Tao.
So everything us as Africans that we're struggling with today, there are other European or Arab construct, things that have nothing to do with us. Everything they give us is a form of religion. Religion means you pay blind loyalty. The religions. Have we even asked ourselves what kind of gods our people worship before the Europeans step on our shoulders? Because for somebody to say this is where salvation begins in terms of the Western construct or Islamic construct. To accept these things is to say then that you are outside of salvation, you are outside of divinity. So then, guess what? This is what they label you. You are pagans, you are heathens. Then they can treat you any kind of way. Everything that you see built from the political system to the religion, we are struggling to make sense of it. They brought these things to you, mess you up, took the originality in it. In the first place, if you look in Liberia, because we're not going to talk about Africa, look at what they're doing here. We're here, and I think we missed the point. They came in. These are people in their own country. After they live, we are here in the U.S. One morning they woke up and then they forgot who a man is and who a woman is. This is sick. This is a mental sickness. Then they destroy their own society. I'm here. I'm seeing it. Where they are collapsing. Misery Love Company. Then they decide they're not going down alone. So they come to an area like Liberia, Africa in general, but like Liberia, where everybody, anything the white man say is your God, because they give your God that is white. Everyone, they say, God, you are made in God's image, but when you look at that God that you're worshiping, it don't look like you. But so when they came in, remember they tried to pass this right as law first, right, Jerome? They want to put it early and where it didn't work, because no institution in any nation can supersede the culture and tradition of that nation if it's going to destabilize the family structure. Everybody else anywhere in the world know this. The Chinese are not having this conversation. It don't mean that no gay or lesbian in that country, but they're just not going to institutionalize it to where it can destabilize. Give the children chance so that they can grow up. And when they can discern, then they can make a choice. Do not indoctrinate them and pretty much deny them the chance. That's some human right abuse right there. But they will tell you that not accepting that to destroy children at their birth. That is so this is what we have. So it failed. The two failed. So what they have decided to do is to slowly enter through the back door by taking a small segment called the church, and then try to push this with the hope that if they can push this, then they can fan that flame to allow it to grow. Then to some extent, it can take hold in the society. This is what they're doing. This is planned out. But look, Dr. Booty and Mr. Namwe, they made a point here that the money got to flow. Let me tell you, religion is a business. No 40 holy men wrote no Bible. Go ahead and read the Nicene Conference, where they put together the very Bible, that the concept of the Bible. 325, where Constantine brought together the 325 bishops all over, and then they put the so-called Bible together. Go and see the argument. It's in 13 volumes at the Booty. You are in England. The copies there. Where the bishops that lost on trying to define the stuff, where they were murdered at that place. People like in the Catholic, like Dr. Mr. Nambe, he's a Catholic. How the Holy Mary, Mother of God, came about. It is not even Jesus that is holy. They say Holy Mary, Mother of God. It was Origin that said that the mother, that is the Virgin, she is the Holy One. The Origin, which Origin was a bishop from North Africa that even proposed that, but that was put together. So yeah, there are a bunch of volumes. Look, this sort religion is a political and economic book. I mean, it's a book put together for religion and economic control. When you say people are moving away from it because it has been exposed, that people are seeing through it now. It's not like accomplishing. Some people say, but why the churches are not working like the way? No, they are working exactly how they're supposed to work. They were meant to shackle you, to mislead you, and to pretty much, it has no life in it. No God told anybody to write anything. If you went, you see, we need to look at our African spirituality, and we need to look at it, but we don't want to look at those things. Everybody else, any group of people that are going to succeed and survive in this world have three things. They have their own language. They have their own religion. They worship a God that look like them. Look at the Europeans. They worship a God. Their God look like them, Jesus. Look at the Arabs. Their God look like them, Muhammad. Look at the Indians. Look at the Chinese. It is only the African. That the moment you say something, they say, oh no, that's black Jesus. Oh, the one is black Moses. This one is black Elijah. Because you are not supposed, because you are meant to be controlled. This is where education as we define it. Also, even go to school in the West. It is not education, it's indoctrination. Because the education that the Clinton gave us, you know how it lead us is for us to say what. That is why it leads us to. So if you, Jerome, if you're a teacher in a typical classroom and you explain something, and then all the students are waiting, what is the answer? That kind of education, that is the way it's designed, and that is the way Africans have been told to learn. So what? So they lead to be servant, to wait and take order. You are not trained when your education leads you to only what, so that you can challenge, so that you can innovate, so that you can self-determine. If you look in African educational system, why and how, that is how it's asked. Dennis Jar was trying to write a book, and the book was on African parables, but he got stuck, so he stopped. You know why he stopped? Because you have to explain it. If you give a parable, you have to explain it. But parables cannot be explained in the African context, because it's meant to actually challenge you to do critical thinking, so that you can innovate. So once you explain it, then it's no good. So this is where we are if we go back into our culture. But what we are seeing here is to challenge and destroy the African culture. They try to do it through the government. It could not work. They're trying to enter the back door through the church, where they will start it, and then they will push it. They will use money. Then before you know it, it will be in the school, the Methodist school. Then it enter here, enter there. They brought a couple of people. Then bypass the government completely. They will say these are private institutions, so they can choose to do. And then, but these people make up a larger portion in our society. And then what happens is prayer. So it must be rejected. It must be completely rejected and stopped.
Thank you.
We cannot allow it.
Jerome, just 10 seconds, please.
Yes, go ahead.
Quickly, prayers to the Pope. I know he's, someone just reminded me in the chat, he's in the hospital. I hope he's doing better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, earlier when you said churches are turning into bars and malls, I just wanted you to qualify that the churches are not turning into a mall, but where the edifices that they used to use.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
And I also wanted to agree with some of what Mr. Tawo is saying, even Dr. Booty. And the church population is shrinking. Since 2008 here in the Camden Diocese where I am, over half of the churches, the church I went to 10 years ago is no more. They had to merge and close some of the dioceses. It's partly because of decline in population, but it is also partly because of the bleeding of money from the sexual abuse that the Catholic Church has been paying out over the years. So all of these are happening in the churches, and this is happening in the Methodist, the Episcopal Church, and all of that. You know, and all of these people are trying to adjust and all of that. But I just wanted to mention those.
Yes, I'm an African Methodist. I go to the AME Church. When I'm in Monrovia, I go to Eliza Turner on Camp Johnson Road. When I'm in Basso, I go to Bethel or Gates Chapel. And when I went to Mother Bethel in Buchanan the other day, I couldn't recognize the church myself because the choir was gone. The hymnals were gone. I mean, what we call the principles of the church. Okay, all of those things were gone when we got there. They had this worship, how do you call it, worship master or something.
And do you know why that was, Jeroen? That's part of the adjustment, because look, the Catholic Church was being said in Latin, but they realized they're losing people, so they are adjusting and accommodating other, congregants. Some of the churches now they wear African gowns. Some of the Catholic
but that's basically, Mr. Nangwe, you're talking about clothes, you're talking about language, you're not talking about.
No, I'm talking about a pure attraction of
gradually. It's the gradualism we are talking about.
Yes,
because like Mr. Nambe is saying, I saw some Nigerian churches, I saw some Ghanaian churches. They are now translating it into their own dialects and stuff. So yeah, the church is doing all they can to be with the time. That the time is changing. The folks first, like my church. We went to church at 10 o'clock. 11:30, we were out of there. An hour, 20 minutes, we were out. That's why the young folks want, those who got 2-3 jobs, they want to come to church, listen to the sermon for 20 minutes, pay their tithes, get involved, and leave. Those days are 3-hour churches, and those days are gone. So yes, the church has to pivot. Now let's pivot to the last one here. Yeke Koluba, I know we have talked about this ad nauseum, but we got to touch it because it says a lot about law and order and where our country is. Mr. Koluba's vehicle was parked. He's a provocateur. We all know this. I don't know why people fall within his traps. You got 10 parking spaces. One says the speaker. He parks in the one that says, he left 9 other ones and park in the one that says speaker. Speaker comes in, sees a trap, and ran right into it like Mr. Spoon said. Joe, we have set a trap, an ambush, and we just ran right into it. And by the time we turned around, Joe, we were going. He left us with the trouble, and look where we are. That's exactly what happened. Yeke Koluba set a trap for the so-called illegal speaker because his skin is so thin. He's stressed. He's looking for recognition. Thought, well, this man parking this spot means that he's challenging who I am, and I'm going to show him who I am and made him look bad. When not only didn't he tow the car, but he instructed the folks to drill and open the car. And after he did all of that, he wound up towing the car anyway. So here we are, Mr. Namwe. What do you make of this? Where are we going? Is this how we now going to? I mean, what is it? Strong. We are a nation of strong men. Might make right. Is that what it is?
Yeah, and you're quite right, Jerome. Look, there's not much to be said on this except that it reveals again the woeful nature of law enforcement in our country. Yeah, you're right. Yeke, I don't believe in Yeke's lifetime in the legislature he'll be able to proffer any bill. I don't think so.
No, he has never.
He won't because he doesn't. I don't believe he has the capacity. He might co-sponsor, maybe work along with someone, but this is what he tries on. Just like he said, he's an agent provocateur. That's what he does, so that the speaker who is supposed to be the leader will knowingly fall into this and reduce himself, bring himself to Yeke's level. It astounds me. It is almost like the Fadiga situation that we didn't talk about, which is on the list. All of these things that are happening, our law enforcement, they have to be, careful with these things. The officers at the legislature, I don't know, but I believe even if they are assigned at the Capitol building, I believe they take their marching orders from the IG. I understand they've been recalled because they apparently went outside of their prescribed function. That whole thing of drilling, only to eventually move the car. It just appeared like somebody who was upset being Richard Kuhn trying to be speaker did not give himself time to take a deep breath and think this thing through. He just went with the first gut feeling, you got to move that car, drill in it, and then you bring the tow truck and move it. If you look at it on the face of it, it just looked like anger and foolishness, not thinking through. So yeah, I mean, Yeke now is of course he got what he wanted. For a week, we've been talking about Yeke. But yeah, I don't think Mr. Kuhn should have really authorized what he did to Yeke Koluba. What Yeke 2 did, of course, is I understand from what other people are saying, that spot really is not marked as belonging to the speaker. I understand it's a spot that is convenient. It's just like you drop someone to the hospital and it's raining, or you drop into the office, it's raining, whatever. You put them in front of the entrance. You're not supposed to park there, but you park there for 10, 15 seconds, they run in, and then you move the car or something. According to Yeke, that's what but I don't know whether he really meant to draw out the speaker. I think that's what he wanted to do. So I think the speaker should, Mr. Kuhn, who is not a speaker, he's an imposter. I think that's what he should allow himself to do. Okay, Yeke, please move your car. If you can't move your car, I'm going to tow it. And then go through the proper thing. Now, the police people themselves, you know, and they threw their professional training out the window and follow, you know, the directives of Richard Cohn. Same situation with the Fadiga people, which is still emerging. You know, they I saw some of the photos there. I did see pepper spray in one of the Fadiga brothers' hands. You know, he seems to have he's claiming to have been the one who was aggressed. Yeah, I saw the damage to his vehicle, but the officer also sustained injury to his hand. I understand. You know, all of these things, you know, people taking law into their own hands, and you know, I don't get it. Then I understand the chief of staff even got involved, but you know, the story is still emerging. But I'll leave it to Dr. Buddy and Mr. Tao. I just couldn't understand why the Mr. Kuhn will first decide to first of all to use to go on a power trip and try to forcefully remove a vehicle from a spot that doesn't belong to him. Why did he have to drill into the car before coming to tow it? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Great. Dr. Booty, Liberia is a lawless country. I can tell anybody that because I am in the United States, you are in Great Britain. And here, Mr. Nambu will attest to it, Mr. Otawa will attest to it. We have the Capitol Police. The Capitol Police is a battalion, a detachment by itself that is empowered by law. The city police cannot go on Capitol Hill to effect arrest. It doesn't happen. We copy the same thing. This is what we are talking about when we copy stuff, and you don't know how it is put together. You are only copying. The Liberian National Police has no right on the Capitol. The Capitol has its own police. Their job is to protect the Capitol, protect foreign dignitaries, protect anybody that comes in there. That's their job. But for the IG to send bullies to come and override the Capitol Police and do what they do, Mr. Dr. Booty, it's like we say now, Liberia is a place of strong men.
Well, I think you learn something new every day, right? So I didn't realize that Liberian capital has its own police force. I always thought it was the national police that protected it. So I've learned something new today. I think the second thing I want to say is I've been on this on the show for I think about a year now, and I think in that time I've been here with Mr. Nangbe. To me, he doesn't look that old. To be forgetting stuff, right? To say that he doesn't know why, well, we've been saying this for a year, that this president came to power, and the first thing he did was to start
Jerome,
like
he just
taking a nuclear bomb and bumping every aspect of our constitution and our laws. First of all, he won't fire people in tenure position. No, he won't bring asset recovery when we got LACC and GAC there. No, he won't get rid of someone who's at the central bank. Now you go pay the man 1 point something billion just so your cousin can cry. So we've been talking this for a year. I've always said that this president, and I think it was my brother Elvis Morris who said that, look, I think from the start when I joined, that he found it difficult to see that George Weah was more law-abiding than Joseph Boakai. Now, I've got an uncle of mine who's a Boakai supporter, and I regurgitated what Mr. Morris said to him the other time. My uncle got there with me, told me, I leave me, I go to sleep. Because at the end of the day, like you always say, Mr. Gibson, it's difficult.
I like your uncle.
No, because the conversation was going well. We spoke for an hour. Everything was going okay. I raised the bucket each day in one sleep. But that besides the point. Look, at the end of the day, the president of the Republic of Liberia sets the tone of our country. Unfortunately, whether you like it or not, as we are seeing with you guys in the United States as well at this moment in time, the president of the country sets the tone. If the president comes in and says, look, I want to cut waste in government will be cut. If the president comes in and says, look, I'm going to abide by the law, we're going to do everything by the book because they're supposed to be arresting people that I think that we're going to do the arresting by the book. Trust me, what you saw happen at the Capitol to Koluba would not have happened. everybody believes, right, that since the president is as lawless as he is, we all can be lawless too, and nothing will come out of it. Because look, even if the parking space was marked speaker, right? Even if it was marked speaker, and you think of yourself as this legitimate speaker, if you park your car in the next parking bay next to you while your car was poor, or your title, your fake title will disappear, right? What benefit is there to destroy a car that we pay for, the Liberian government money, or our 45,000 pay for that car? So now you destroy a car that we pay for. Now we got to go and fix that car with money. While children are dying in hospital, while people are going hungry and dying from starvation, right? We now go take 4,000, 5,000, whatever to fix a car just because you have this ego trip. And at the end of the day, right, we always have to say, and I'm glad that Mr. Nangwe corrected himself, these guys didn't realize that what they were trying to do wouldn't just happen easily. They just thought, oh, they would just do the thing for that, will go quietly and blah, blah, blah. But the Liberian people are more enlightened than they realize. And Liberian people, all of them are saying, no, my brother, you're not a speaker. Yes, unfortunately, they're not doing anything about it, but they know he's not. So look, there is no need. There was no need for this to happen. It doesn't change anything. Even if he was the legitimate speaker of the House of Representatives, and let's say that even but I came from the diaspora, I know where to park because there is no need to spoil my car. There's no need. It doesn't change anything on you because you park in a space that is not marked speaker. Your name, if you are the speaker, you are the speaker. You carry the authority of the office. And then the parking space gave you the authority is the election legitimately to that office. And like I can agree with Mr. Nangwe because he understands that, look, I am not legitimate. That's why he's acting out like that, to try and wrestle legitimacy for himself. But that's not how you get legitimacy. You have to be elected duly by your peers in alignment with the law. And then you get we're not parking here. So because it will mark the space correctly, speak up.
Thank you. Mr. Tao, like Dr. Booty said, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, by you breaking into the speaker's office and moving and sitting in his chair, it's not an office, it's not a chair. That speaker can hold audience under a tree because he is the legitimate. It is the power vested. When you take an oath, it's the power vested in me or in you. They put that power in you. If the White House got burned, the president can be anywhere and hold office. That's how it is. If you are the father, the head of household, your house get burned, and you in a little motel with your wife and your children, you are still the father that the kids will still call you daddy. Taiwo, real quick here, we got a few minutes here.
Mr. Nangwe and Dr. Budi already pretty much said everything with respect to that. These are all crooks. So I really have no interest in the kind of treatment they even gave each other. They're just a dead weight hanging the country and sucking everything out. And I continue to propose here. Hope one day we start the movement to push to be able to find a way to dissolve or abolish that particular parasitic group. But look, what I see here is this, is that, and Dr. Budi touched on it very little. These guys are able to destroy these vehicles because it is not their money. And this should actually be the real discussion here. Yeke go park there. They all are rude people. Like Yeke will never even be senator or anything around that place. He will probably be mopping floor in a normal situation. If Richard Kuhn themselves, they will be somewhere, maybe cooking cogodolo. But it is these kind of circumstances that led us to this stuff. But the fact that
Mr. Tao?
I did a fast dumping off.
Yeah, fast dumping, yeah. But it is the country putting up the kind of money that is very unnecessary. And then they can go in there because I saw the picture like, okay, what are they doing? Why are they drilling into the door? Do they know that it's a $45,000 vehicle that is less than 6 months old and it's going to get damaged? It could have easily been told, but they're doing. So that's the area right there. People, whether it was the so-called IG, who from the diaspora, who claim to be so intelligent, who claim to know everything. But every time something goes wrong and the police are wrongly, the IG is always the one giving that order. But somehow he's from the diaspora. Yeah, he have this big resume and he know how to do things. He's supposed to go out there and lay it down the right way. They're all over there screwing up. So they should hold them responsible for them to pay for that vehicle. Okay. Because the guys should they should start holding them responsible. Because for me, it is the property of the country that is being destroyed in the stupidity, in the childishness, fighting each other for money. The other person, this people control the 1.2 million, so they will fight all through so that they can get crumbs of it, even though they're already stealing more from the country. So that's what you're seeing over there. But they should hold them responsible to pay for the country's property they destroy.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. I'm reading your comments. We appreciate you. I'm going to address one of the comments here by my friend, Mr. Wallow. Mr. Wallow thinks that we are limiting our panelists means that we are struggling, that I'm struggling to have people come on. Mr. Wallow, the only truth you ever said that I believe in, and I want you to know is, yes, I am struggling to get the people that were on here, the Tulis of the world, the Alio Kamaras of the world, the Mame of the world that were the champions of Joseph Boyka. I'm having problem with them, including yourself, to come on here. But yes, I was on another show where we had 9 panelists. And to me, every time they said 2 minutes, by the time they went around, came back to number 1, 19, 20 minutes had gone by, and you just standing there, sitting there, watching the camera, and somebody's looking at you for 20 minutes without talking. It just doesn't make sense. If we have 3 folks to commit to coming here every day, researching the issue, discussing the issue intelligently, I prefer that than having 9 people on here that will only sit to beautify my screen. Your closing argument, your closing thought, Mr. Namwe.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jerome, and also Dr. Booty and Joe. It is great being here this afternoon. I hope we brought some clarity to some of the issues that our people are, wrestling with in Liberia. But the current situation in Liberia, where this president is, struggling and traveling all over the place and trying to hustle. That's the Liberian world. And him knowing that somebody, he has to know, because this gentleman at the central bank, we understand, is a blood relative, to be earning $56,000, $57,000 a month, and the president doesn't find that something troubling, and yet he believes the manna is out there, he's going to bring it home. That is really oxymoronic. I don't understand it. I don't think he's giving himself time to understand, what he's confronted with, So I really hope, that he will really, really sit down and think this thing through, what he's faced with. Corruption in Liberia is chronic, it's deep-seated. People will find all kinds of ways to corrupt our people's resources. He has to be strong. He has to be strong. He has to stare corruption in the face and kick it out of our government. I don't see him doing that. To go and sign off on a budget that will consume 88% of $880 million. And he thinks that is not business as usual. And he's running all over the place looking for money. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. And he really has to understand that. This is not knocking on him. This is not opposing comments or anything like that. I'm encouraging him to really, really sit and look in the mirror and ask himself, Joseph Boakai, do you really believe there is no money in this country? Or do you really think you have taken a closer look at government? I don't think he's done that. Look, I understand government is humongous. It is big. But that is why there are systems. I think back in November or December, he signed up on this government performance management team. Where is that? When is it going to start working? Who is monitoring these people? Who is going to hold these people in check? And why is he not doing that? I don't understand it. And then finally, look, somebody read in the comments, and I agree with it. I was thinking the UP government has got to be this UP 2.0, because there were Ellen Johnson and now this is UP. They have got to be the most arrogant. You understand me? The most soul winners I have ever seen. You won an election and you are angry every day. You have 2 former presidents sitting in country and you never really gone to any of them to ask them for help. How arrogant is that? Never mind who Ellen Johnson is, but she has an international appeal. Never mind who George Weah is, he has an international appeal. The man is a soccer icon, a superstar. He can open certain doors. Why aren't they utilizing these people? Because they think they know it or they're so smart? Well, I got news for them. They look stupid and dumb. They've been in office 12 months and the wage bill has even gone up instead of going down. What does that say to them? So I'm really calling on this president. He needs to take this thing seriously. People's lives are really at stake. He has to focus and get the work done. Get help wherever you can get it from. Eat crow. He needs to try. He tried to bring George Weah in during the last UN bid. Then the deputy minister at the Ministry of Information trying to do a takedown on George Weah. How nonsensical is that? But anyway, thanks a lot. Great show, man. Let's do it again when we have time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Tao.
Yeah. So, as I said before, a little over a year ago, when I joined the program, that this government was going to be worse than the Weah government. It's not because I knew President Boakai personally or anything, but because of how the government are structured and the way in which policies were put in place to work. It is a corrupt system. This system here, we need to find a way to either dismantle it or completely overhaul it. It would never work for us. It was never designed to work, and it would never work. The people who enslave you, the people who colonize you, gave you this. And they sit back and they're there for them to manage it because they know it's not going to work for you. One, that this system is not a nationalistic system. It's a system committed to outside influence and entities to extract profit for them, and then they get crumbs and they put it in their pocket and they save it in those countries of those outside entities. That is all that it is. If you look across Africa, it's the same. It was the same everywhere until people saw exactly what I'm saying here. And then what happened? They started to revamp, dismantle, and reorganize, and then the system started working for them. So we need to look into this. And if you look, all of our fathers of independent fathers and mothers who actually had this idea on true independent and self-aspiration and determination, within like 10 years, they were all murdered. They were all removed from the scene. So all we have now is just clowns. You guys are here surprised, but you have clowns. So they are the circuit. That is why you see people drilling car, people jumping over stuff. They are actually performing at a circuit. They are clowns. You can see it. And that is why we are always here surprised. But look, and I will say this for me to close. When it comes to the gay stuff, our culture and our tradition in our nation should supersede everything else. The church is subordinate to the cultural norms and values of that land. And it should never be allowed. It should never, ever be allowed so that they can use the church, some entity, as a private backdoor for them to sneak something in there that have destroyed their own society, have them in disarray. The family's church is completely messed up. One morning they woke up and they said they don't know who a man is and who a woman is. Somebody who is 80 years old giving birth by a mother that raised them, and then one day they wake up and they say they don't know, or they need to redefine who a man is and who a woman is. We shouldn't accept that nonsense. That's sick. It should never be accepted. We shouldn't try to split it any other way. Let us be direct with it. When it comes to the Eurocentric stuff, we want to try to explain it in some terminology and walk around. But when it comes to our own stuff, then we are direct, because and every time you find us working against our own interests and delivering us further and further into a subjugation.
Thank you. Dr. Booty, your closing.
Yeah, sorry for the technical issues there. I think I dropped out for a little bit. Look, it's been a great show. Obviously, always as when we come on here, you learn new things. There are opportunities for us to make contributions. But I think, look, the situation we have in Liberia, I believe the president is not up to the task. Right? I know that Mr. Nangwe is very diplomatic and he tries to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's not up to the task. It's been a year, right? These guys came in without a clear plan of action. Maybe they were unsure that they were going to win the election, because if you're confident in your message and you know you're going to win, you already set your plan in place. A lot of things should have been done from the start were not done. Liberians are resilient, right? And if Liberians believe that the president or the leaders in the country are doing things for their benefit, for example, cutting government salaries, for example, cutting the waste in government and repurposing that money to agriculture and healthcare and education, which would then employ more people at the grassroots levels, then people can be enthusiastic about where we're going. But it's unfortunate that nobody that I speak to, and I'm sure Mr. Gaiman, when you were in Liberia recently, you had the same experience. Nobody you speak to in the country will tell you that they think the country is going in the right direction. It's been a year, right? They've had a whole year. Even if you are learning on the job, 1 year is enough time to learn. And we clearly see that they continue to make the same mistakes over and over and over again. There's abuse of power, abuse of the law, abuse of our constitution, abuse of human rights. And the president is just sitting there doing nothing, right? And unfortunately, I don't believe he has the capacity. But we're stuck with him for another 5 years. Hopefully, at the next elections, the Liberians will make the right decision. And we hope that between now and I think 2029 or whenever we go to the elections, someone can come up who will be with some of integrity and credibility that can take this country. But look, we wait and see. Thank you so much for having me on today, and we look forward to the next time we're back here. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. For my closing, I was in Basel when the president and his team came to unveil the arrest agenda, and he came up with this elaborate plan of $8 billion within 5 years. And then he says the breakdown was 40% will come from the international community. Little did he know that Trump was on the way. And he said 40% from the international funding, our international folk, 30% from the Liberian diaspora, and 30% from the national call for inland. Can you imagine that a manager will say that 70% of his budget is outside of his control, and yet and still he beating his chest? Who does that? When you say these things, people think that you don't like Joseph Boakai. But who in the world says 70% of my $8 billion is going to come from outside? Somebody is going to give it to me, and then we're going to try to raise 30%. If that is not asinine, I don't know what that is. But this is what we are talking about. When the folks say you do not take the sharpest cutlass in the town and give it to an old man to make fun, you will die hungry. That's what we are doing here. We have taken our future and given it to a man who doesn't have a future. He's living in his future. Joseph Boakai doesn't have to worry about Nangwe Timi 5-10 years from now. No, Joseph Boakai said it. All I want to do is go to IB Bank, ask them, I got money, I want to put small things aside for my children, so when I'm not here, they can live a good life. Well, guess what? He didn't have to go to a great beyond for his children to live a good life. They are living a good life. Ladies and gentlemen, we have one topic that we're going to delve into. We're going to research next Sunday, the Fadiga brothers and the attack on our AFL. We're going to research it. We're going to come back with more information. If our technical folks are ready, we say we are all Liberians. Wherever you are, wherever side you are on, we are all Liberians. We are Liberians. Liberia is our home.